He didn't murmur it. He didn't cushion it. When Graham McTavish declared that Sam and Caitriona Balfe were the most beautiful couple in Outlander, the words landed like a silent detonation, so calm, so certain, they felt less like praise and more like a truth that escaped before it could be carefully framed. In an industry where every compliment is polished and every sentence is guarded, Graham's honesty cut through the static. Calling them the most beautiful couple wasn't a throwaway line. It was a moment that made people stop, rewind, and listen again. Because this wasn't a fan posting online or a headline hunting for clicks. This was a man who stood beside them for years, who shared the same sets, the same long nights, the same pressure cooker atmosphere. He saw what happened when the cameras rolled, and what lingered when they finally stopped. That's why his words carried weight. For a decade, viewers have debated Sam and Caitriona's chemistry like it was a puzzle begging to be solved. Some swore it was simply rare, exceptional acting, a professional lightning strike. Others felt, deep down, that something more lived beneath the surface, something unspoken, unresolved, and almost dangerously convincing. Graham didn't confirm a romance. He did something more unsettling. He validated the feeling. Beauty, as he meant it, wasn't about faces or aesthetics. It was about balance, presence, the way two people seem to tune into the same emotional frequency without effort, as if they're meeting in the same invisible space. On most sets, chemistry flares in rehearsal and fades by lunch. What made Sam and Caitriona different was how it endured. Scene after scene, season after season, their connection didn't thin out. It deepened. Their performances grew quieter, heavier, more intimate, as if the shared history of their characters began to bleed into the actors themselves. Graham watched that evolution up close. He saw how they leaned on each other when scenes demanded vulnerability that couldn't be faked. How they shielded each other's performances. How they spoke in glances and pauses instead of lines. Those are details you only catch when you're there every day, not months later, watching a polished edit. And that's where the unease begins. If this was only acting, why did it feel lived in? Why did their connection shift over time, becoming more contained, more careful, as public attention intensified? Why did their energy change once the world started asking questions they weren't ready, or willing, to answer? Graham didn't spell any of this out, but his comment reopened a door many believed had been firmly closed. It reminded fans that what they were responding to wasn't imagination, but an emotional reality sustained over years. Hollywood loves clean stories. Co-stars do their job, say the right things, and move on. Outlander never fit that template, and neither did Sam and Caitriona's partnership. Graham's words didn't reveal a secret affair. They revealed something more complicated and far harder to dismiss, a bond strong enough to anchor one of television's most intense love stories without ever feeling hollow. That's why his statement still echoes. Not because it answers every question, but because it forces one we can't ignore. When someone who saw it all says they were the most beautiful couple, what exactly did he witness that the rest of us only felt? Graham McTavish says Sam and Caitriona Balfe are the most beautiful couple in Outlander. And here's why that landed like a shockwave. It wasn't whispered backstage. It wasn't born in a fan theory. And it certainly wasn't delivered by someone chasing attention. It came straight from Graham, steady, confident, almost too honest for comfort. When he said it, he didn't sound like an actor praising a script. He sounded like a man who had watched something real unfold from the inside. For years, fans treated Sam and Caitriona's connection like a debate, complete with sides, evidence, and verdicts. But Graham wasn't speculating. He was observing. As a longtime castmate, he lived inside the same relentless schedule, the same emotional grind, the same charged environment that comes with telling a love story over nearly a decade. He saw how bonds either fractured under that pressure, or grew unbreakable. He recognized how rare it was for two actors to sustain that level of intimacy without something authentic holding it together. That's why his words hit harder than any rumor or headline ever could. Hollywood language is usually safe, great collaboration, strong working relationship, mutual respect. Graham didn't reach for any of that. He chose, most beautiful couple. And in that choice, beauty wasn't cosmetic. It was emotional. It was the harmony in how they moved around each other, trusted each other, and carried the weight of Jamie and Claire's story without letting it collapse into routine. From the beginning, Sam and Caitriona didn't play their roles like performers hitting marks. They played them like people who understood each other's silences. Their scenes breathed. Pauses mattered. Touches didn't feel choreographed, they felt instinctive. Graham, often positioned right in the middle of that dynamic, watched it transform from raw electricity into something deeply rooted. Their connection didn't dull with familiarity. It sharpened. What viewers sometimes forget is that Outlander wasn't created in quick bursts. It was years of shared lives, cold sets, exhausting days, emotionally draining scenes, and the constant pressure of a growing global obsession. In those conditions, relationships either crack or become unbreakable. Graham saw Sam and Caitriona rely on each other when storylines demanded vulnerability that technique alone couldn't reach. That kind of reliance forges something deeper than friendship, yet more complicated than romance, a bond that exists in a space most people don't have words for. And that's why his statement made people uncomfortable. Because when someone who was there says they were the most beautiful couple, it challenges the neat lines fans and media try to draw. It raises a question that refuses to stay quiet. Was their chemistry simply extraordinary acting, or was it fueled by something more personal, more emotionally charged, something that never needed a label to feel real? Graham didn't answer that. He didn't have to. His tone suggested that whatever it was, it didn't require explanation to be understood. Over time, viewers felt the shift. Early seasons were electric, almost reckless. Later ones carried a different gravity, steadier, deeper, tinged with the weight of shared history. Graham's perspective bridges that transformation. He saw how Sam and Caitriona learned each other's rhythms, protected each other's performances, and built a shared language beyond direction or script. That kind of synchronicity doesn't come from rehearsal alone. It grows from trust forged over years, from moments of emotional honesty that never make it to the screen, but somehow, the audience still feels them.